Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. Joined with me today is, as always, the doctor himself, Jameson Maxwell. Ty is out this evening due to, can't confirm or deny, probably probably Jeff Levy related illness. We can't confirm or deny. I'm not a doctor, and Jameson can't diagnose from a distance. But look, the Sooners took their first loss of the season, a crushing 38-33 loss in Lawrence against the Kansas Jayhawks. That was and frankly, it was one of the coldest, wettest games I've ever been to. Awful times in person, just a brutal atmosphere. And look, we have a lot to talk about, Jameson, so let's just get into it. What went wrong?
I mean, where do you want to start? And I think everyone wants to hear this at the beginning of the podcast. So let's get into it. Should we just straight up talk about coaching? Because what happened in this game, there is absolutely no excuse from all sides of the ball. I think Jeff Levy is going to get a lot of bad rap, but can I go out and make a hot take? Why haven't we been talking about DeMarco Murray and how bad of a job he's doing this year? He's getting it's just because he's no U legacy. He's no U legacy. He's like the darling of OU. But guess what? He's also been a problem. I just want to put that out there. I'll hit it a little bit later. But like Jeff Levy is like a huge issue.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I feel like the DeMarco talk is definitely on the running back development. It doesn't feel like it feels wrong in a way. And I'm not trying to diminish Tawi Walker. He has been incredible. But let's be honest, when you have Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes, two incredibly talented guys, seeing them regress the way they have has been obviously hard to watch, hard to stomach. Kansas had better running backs than us this game outside of Tawi Walker, who got banged up. I think DeMarco hasn't been really hasn't gotten enough flack as he should have, as he has. He needs to be under fire. I would agree with you there. But I think
it's not just the development, Bobby, though. It's like the choice of him playing. I don't know if this is his choice. Also, I would like to say that he has a say of when running backs come in the game, but having Javonte Barnes in on that last drive that we went 3 and out after that Ethan Downs interception makes no sense whatsoever.
So, okay, you might have missed this, but Tawi Walker was banged up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Javonte Barnes should be not even on the field.
He should be
taking a red shirt right now. Like,
yeah, I think
there's no excuse. Like, why is Javonte Barnes playing in that role whenever he hasn't shown anything this whole year? A guy who's just running and missing gaps. If you look at those plays that he actually had a couple of gaps in those duds of runs that he had on that 3 and out that he could have made yards, but he continuously runs into tackles. Like, he should not be playing. I don't see there's any excuse. I don't care if Tawi Walker's banged up. You played the running back that you started on the game, and that's Sawchuk. Like, what's going on here?
And look, I think I see what you're saying. But I think a lot of that comes to Levy too, because not only should you be playing like the running back you started, playing the running backs that have gotten snaps, you should be playing running backs as running backs. I think, and fairly so, a lot of people have been focusing on just the awful jet sweeps. And, Jalil Farouk, specifically that fumble he had. Why in the world are we, especially when Tawi Walker is doing what he's doing? At that point in time, he was healthy. He was fine. Why do we have Drake Stoops and Jalil Farouk in the backfield? Why are we doing that? I think that decision-making falls on Levy. And it honestly makes me think that Levy has I'm going to pin a lot of the coaching mistakes on Levy. Because I think it's fair. I think it's fair to critique DeMarco Murray, but Jeff Levy offensively coached us out of this. And it's a sports
He's
animal.
The number one problem. He's the number one problem. I just wanted to make
this
sure that DeMarco needs to be at least thought of too. Oh, there's no doubt about it. And the thing is, Bobby, what we saw from early on in the Jeff Levy experience, and something that we were nervous about and frustrated, but it kind of, went under the carpet because we had a bad season last year, and then we kind of made it through this year, is it's the same old thing. This is not new, guys. And it's I don't trust my offensive players, and he has such a short, leash on people to where he feels like he has to play, like control and micromanage the game. And in this game, Dylan Gabriel throws a pick six at the beginning, and he legitimately said, you know what? I'm going to give the ball to my running backs. I don't care if it's raining, that I've done nothing this whole year because I'm scared my Heisman candidate quarterback can't throw the football. Are you kidding?
I mean, Gabriel had what, 19 passes, I believe, overall?
19 passes and 55 rushing attempts total for the rest of the team. I understand Dylan Gabriel had 14 of those, but still, that is 41 rushing attempts to 19 passing attempts, not counting Dylan Gabriel's rushing.
And look, I get it because it was the weather was bad. I don't know if people really got it. It was sleeting on us. It was that atmosphere was as bad as it gets. But at the same time, it just doesn't make sense to just not, when Kansas is daring you to throw, to not trust your Heisman level guy. And in the limited time he was throwing, he was great. Other than that pick six, which by the way was also kind of Jeff Lebby's fault because it was an RPO, which kind of an unrealistic pass option. If you think about it,
I will say this: Dylan did not take his eyes off the receiver the whole time. Looked the whole way through it.
It was awful. But frankly, why are you running an RPO on 3rd and 3? Like, just run the ball.
I get it. I can see it. 3rd and 3 is kind of a popular RPO down. So I get that. But it's just Dylan Gabriel.
Make it a realistic route, though.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Now, with RPOs, you shouldn't be throwing that far across the field. RPOs, you should keep things pretty congested to like your short side of the field. And if your main target is all the way that far and he's looking at it the whole way, I think if he looked on the other side, I'm pretty sure Nick Anderson was open. Like, that is legitimately what we've known to be as Dylan Gabriel's biggest weakness. He plays his first read, and sometimes he overplays it. And legitimately, that's what he did on that play.
You're right. And my thing is, like, RPOs are based on speed. So when you're going that far away, it, kind of ruins the whole point of the pass option of it, because everyone knows what you're doing by then. And that's how you could bite a route like that. It was not good. It was not.
Yeah, it's so hard to read a defense and decide if you want to run or pass it whenever the wide receiver's all the way on the other side of the field. It's just not a good play call.
Absolutely not.
And I guarantee you that was the first option because he was looking at it the whole time. So that's how that play is called.
For sure. No, I get it, but it's still just not good. But I feel like overall the biggest complaints I have with Lebby is, you had a good thing going with Tawee Walker's running game. We were dicing them. We were cutting right through the heart of them. And we just went away with it because you want to be creative on some jet sweeps. Because you just want, like, what are we doing? And I know we're like, this is a different Schooner Pod. We usually just methodically go through that. That's not what we're doing. We're breaking the wheel. We're throwing the formula out. We're just talking. We're venting. But let's just, I want to jump to that last drive. How toothless, just gutless, like of a play call, like just a series of play calling. You have Dylan Gabriel, Heisman hopeful, maybe going to make it to New York. And instead you're just going to hand it off to Javonte Barnes. And you just roll over 3 times. We're not going to try, just try to get a first down and the game is over. It baffles me that we were gifted that by a great Ethan Downs interception, and we just forfeit it. It's baffling. It's baffling to me. Like,
we were punting either way. If he even try to throw it on 3rd down, at least have some kind of inkling of aggressiveness to try to get the first down. Dylan Gabriel doesn't want to throw the ball. I would hope he's a veteran enough to know I can just go down and take the sack, and this punt is still going to probably have the same yardage to it.
Exactly. Because you can still force him to take the time out. That's the thing about Dylan Gabriel is he is, we've seen it the biggest stage possible of OU Texas. When the guy has that freedom and that trust to make his own decisions, he's usually pretty good and he can tuck the ball. I feel like he usually doesn't make the wrong choice there. So
Mhm.
my thing is just at least give him the option to throw the ball and just give you a shot at making a first down. It just felt like they were just, I don't know. Jeff Levy just frankly did not call a very good game at all. It was like he was playing not to lose. And
Mm.
the second you do that, you lose, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. I feel like we talked about at the beginning, Bobby, like we really haven't really appreciated the weather. You were there, so not a lot of Sooner fans were there, so they don't truly know. But it's not like the opposing quarterback was having trouble throwing the ball downfield and making big time passes. So you would assume Dylan Gabriel could do the same. It's not like the weather was so bad, both sides of the ball, offense for Kansas, offense for Oklahoma, were not throwing. And it was just, like just a run fest. And it was just a slot fest. No, it was just on the Oklahoma side of the ball where we were not throwing beyond the 10-yard marker.
Exactly. I believe the Oklahoma breakdown had a stat on how much we've threw beyond I think we didn't even throw a pass over 10 yards or completed a pass over 10 yards until that last drive, where the last ditch effort drive, which
We had,
is
we had the Nick
baffling.
Anderson. We had the Nick Anderson one in the middle of the field. That was a long completion. And other than that, I don't think early, like throughout the game, we didn't have much at all that was thrown downfield. And the Brennan
And like the
Thompson,
Anderson one was like a
absolutely
yards after catch
amazing.
one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Brennan
Thompson's catch was
Thompson they just threw it up to the sky and essentially just underthrew it. But
yeah.
at least he
Oh
threw
yeah.
it.
At least he threw it. But yeah, just a brutal offensive performance. And I get it. Like when Tawee Walker goes down, that changes things. He was beat up, he was banged up. But it just it just not trusting Dylan Gabriel like that was just unacceptable. It was baffling. Just baffling.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah, it's I really, really think it comes down to, and I will say this again, not trusting Dylan Gabriel is one thing, but legitimately playing Javonte Barnes on that last drive. I will never forgive whoever's decision that was. I really do think. I think that the game, our offensive play calling, it was flawed pretty much from the beginning. But that last, if that was DeMarco Murray's choice or if that was Jeff Levy's choice, that is the reason why I think you lose the game. I hate to put it on one person's shoulders, but still, that dude has been absolute buns the whole year. Absolute buns the whole year. And you play him in one of the most important three down drives that you have.
it's Here's my thing. It's not only that they played him, it's that they handed off to him 3 straight times. It's that like what did they expect out of that?
The
They
dude hasn't
weren't
done
playing.
anything the whole year. Like nothing. Like let's play a game, Bobby. I don't even know this. I'm looking it up right now. Actually, it's better than I thought it was. I was gonna look at his average rush for carry for the whole year. It's 4.6. So I was hoping it was gonna be a lot
That's
lower.
actually not bad.
But I mean, a lot of that was for in games that was like Tulsa and Arkansas State. So let's actually take away Tulsa and Arkansas State. He's only played in SMU before this. And I think Tulsa and Arkansas State games where we scored 66 and 73 does not count because those defenses were miserable. Just look what Tulsa got happen with SMU this weekend. Are you kidding me? Yeah, and Arkansas State is horrible. So versus SMU, he was 2 for 5. So and he's 5 for 17 versus Kansas. All right, tell me, guys, Jeff Levy, DeMarco, what are you thinking here? What have you seen that makes you want to play him?
And like I'll put it this way, I'd rather play Javonte Barnes than run I don't know, continuously run jet sweeps that don't work with your
And
wide
I'm getting
receivers.
tired of
At
that
least
pop
you're using a
pass.
running
That
back.
pop pass is not it because we run it every game. And Gavin Freeman, poor kid, runs for his damn life to the sideline to get either -2 yards or 1 yard every single time now. It worked once. It worked a little bit last year too. It's not working anymore. We need to start phasing some things out of our playbook.
Absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. You got to phase it out. You got to be smarter with what you play. And I feel like I feel like the biggest problem with Levy is you just aren't getting that feel that he knows what he's doing. His plays don't play off of each other. They don't build off of each other. They don't create cohesive drives that make sense, that really just click. It just feels clunky. Like, I don't know, like he's going with Ask Corso or something on the same like 4 plays, and he just doesn't know what he's doing. It doesn't. It's not smooth. And I'm not trying to act like I'm some sort of football brainiac or something that I know exactly what to do. But you just instantly get the feeling that it just doesn't work. And I heard someone say at some point, I think it was on the Animal, or like, oh, Kansas scored 38 points. This is, how can you blame the offense? I get the defense like had deficiencies, but like, if you really think about it, a lot of the issues and a lot of the things that led to Kansas touchdowns were kind of offensive faults. So touchdown 1 was a pick 6, obviously the offense's fault. Second touchdown, on bad possession, that's on the defense. Third one, they started at the 36 because of, a fumble. And then KU's fourth touchdown was a big KU drive, 2 personal fouls on 1 play, which was weird, very odd. And then from there, missed field goal, interception on Kansas's end. So OU had opportunities to just slam the door, and the offense just never did it. And then I feel like the offense, more than anything, gave this game away. And I think a lot of it had to do with coaching. A lot of it had to do with leadership. They did not put this team in a good position to succeed at all. And I know Kansas scored a lot, like relatively, but
they're going to score a lot.
It's
That's
on
like
the offense.
Kansas.
That's what they do.
Legitimately, like, we know their defense is so flawed that you got to go out there and just stomp them and get ahead early. That's just what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you got to give credit to, Lance Leipold. I thought he put together a really solid game plan. I thought Kansas came out firing. The week they had off was really good. I don't think they're a bad team by any means. Our mutual friend Ford was chirping us for losing, like chirping me for being like, oh, you lost to unranked Kansas. USC hasn't lost to an unranked team. And first of all, hilariously ridiculous statement. No, of course not. But at the same time, like, this is a solid Kansas team. But also they gave us ample opportunities to win this ball game. This was a winnable game. Kansas outplayed us. They outcoached us. They did the things they needed to do to win the game, and OU didn't. But the fact that OU didn't, with a better roster, with better talent, is an indictment on the coaching staff, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coaching, it sucks, but also we got to start pointing fingers at the players and how injured we are right now, because we're not talking about that enough. Because Andrew Anthony being out is a huge deal for us. It's a huge, huge deal. Our wide receiver room that we thought was so, we felt so confident in, we're learning more and more that having a guy like Andrew Anthony was so crucial to us. He was the guy who was getting us those 10-plus yard throws. Now, are we getting guys that can even get open? Is Jalil Farouk not that guy? He obviously wasn't that guy. We've seen it, And then in terms of Nick Anderson, is he just a big play guy? Can he be a down-to-down guy? And so far what we've seen, I'm not sure if that's the case.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Jameson. It's like, I like Andrew Anthony. I thought he's a great receiver. He was really good when he was playing and healthy. But is Andrew Anthony really the difference between being an effective offense, getting good third downs, and what we saw on Saturday, where OU went 2 for 10 on third down? No. He's not that much of a difference maker, surely. Like, your offense has a problem if Andrew Anthony is doing that much to, contribute to your offense. He just wasn't. Like, I don't know. It's incredibly troubling that has been that much of a devastating blow, honestly.
No, I wouldn't say like, oh, that is legitimate, the Jenga piece that made everything fall down. That's not it, but it's definitely a contributing factor. But like, you got this graphic up right now, like significant injuries that happened during this game and before this game. Like Danny Stutzman with the ankle injury, that's a big deal. Tolly Walker, obviously, he was doing great for us, and we had to pivot, and we obviously pivoted wrong. Peyton Bowen, Gentry Williams, McCabe Tire, like this is these
I will
are
say
very
Matauer did
big
play,
dogs.
but he's playing on one leg.
Yeah, that dude, I don't know how he's doing it right now. And
And if
then
you're Savion Bird,
just put out, yeah, just I was about to say put Savion Bird on this. He's not injured physically, but man, this dude can't do anything right mentally. So like this
you're
guy's
losing
legitimately
to a
making
one-legged man.
stupid decisions all the time. Like he needs to like fix his like, you know, his head and like actually make smart decisions because he's those personal fouls and like these missed blocks is just not it right now for him. So like it's not looking good.
Across the board, the line looked unmotivated, just not there. They just didn't. They didn't. They don't have. They don't have the nasty. They don't have the. I don't know what. I don't know how to put it. They just don't have it together. They didn't look. They looked unfocused for another week. A lot of the team looked unfocused yet another week in a row. But the line is it's not there. And with Matauer ailing and hurt, you gotta step up and fill that gap. And that's unacceptable. But my
I
thing
think
is
Caden Green continued to play well on the left side. I'll give him
Green
that.
played great.
But he's a
Didn't
freshman, you know?
yeah, didn't Green have that? I'm pretty sure Green look, well, I hate talking about penalties as like a pretty big deal or like a reason why you lost the game. But I'm pretty sure Caden Green had that one play where he just bullied a dude into the ground. And they called it hands on the face when it clearly wasn't. He just got his ass whooped.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Sam Mays talking about it a ton. I've heard a lot of people talking about it a ton. I've seen it. Caden Green, look, for a true freshman, he's working his ass off. He's going to be something special, I think.
101 yards of penalties for us.
And that's just unacceptable. And we got to talk about the penalties.
There it is.
You get it? The bean slide? The bean slide, Jameson? For the YouTube folks, you get it. But no, 11 penalties, 101 yards, and the Reggie Pearson ejection was brutal. And I don't know how much, like 30 of those happened on one play, keep in mind, which is weird. Getting 2 personal fouls in a row, like that doesn't happen often, but whatever. Overall, you have to outplay that though. And you can't let that be, you can't let that beat you, especially when you play. I don't know if we played pretty well. I wouldn't say that, but we played well enough to win the ball game. We had points where we could have just gone out and taken it. But let's just go ahead and talk about that Pearson ejection, Jameson. You saw that the Jason Bean going towards the end zone slides. Have you ever seen a quarterback slide at the end zone? That had to be a slip, right?
He realized he was in trouble and he spooked himself into doing it. And yes, I understand why Reggie Pearson got ejected. It's just such a weird scenario that no way, shape, or form Reggie thought that was coming. That's just not a scenario. Like if he's running to the sideline or if he's running up the middle on 1st and 10, you play that a lot differently as a defender. But Reggie's coming downhill. He's going to hit you because he needs to stop you from crossing the end zone. I get it. It's just an unfortunate play.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I absolutely hate it. And I mean, you know me, I'm not one of those "they took my football away" type of guys, who complains about the physicality of the sport being, lessened from what it was. It needs to be safer. It absolutely does. But I also think at some point you have to have nuance and understand that overall these penalties, what they're trying to do is make you conditioned to hit in a safer manner, right? And because of that, you understand circumstances, you understand situations, you're able to understand body cues a little bit, where if you see a quarterback in the open field, you understand he's going to slide. You understand that's a possibility and you pull back. Nobody in their right mind would ever expect a quarterback to just stop at the 1-yard line on 3rd down. What is Pearson supposed to do? These plays are fast.
It's not safe for Bean. That's right.
Right. And, a lot of people have thought, is it, was that a slip? Was that whatever? I don't know.
No, it was on purpose. Like it was.
Yeah,
It was more of like he made the decision on a whim, obviously, and it was just an instinct thing.
Yeah. And, one of the people I follow, and we follow each other on Twitter, Kansas follow, also said I said, has anyone ever seen someone slide on the goal line? He said, that honestly seems like something Bean would do. So that's just kind of that apparently was on brand for Jason Bean. But ultimately, it's just so frustrating. But that
Yeah, in
didn't
the
decide
grand
the
scheme
game.
of things, it sucks. It sucks, Reggie Pearson. But if he would have just dipped his shoulder, he would have got a touchdown. So in terms of the points of the game and that call, it really didn't change the amount of points that OU did or didn't get.
Right. Exactly. Do we want to talk about the defense a bit here, Jameson?
Yeah, I was disappointed in the defense, Bobby, just because I saw some things that we could have improved on last week. And I feel like some of our strengths actually became kind of weaknesses. Like the defensive line, I felt like could have played a whole lot better. And I saw some things last week that I was actually like kind of happy with the defensive line. And it's just like whenever you lose Stutzman, whenever he's not 100% with that ankle, he couldn't even do anything on the sideline with it. He's our leader. Legitimately, he's our keystone. And whenever you lose your leader and keystone, especially as an inside linebacker is the quarterback of that defense. It takes a huge, huge hit to overall. Danny bails us out of so many plays. And unfortunately, that you could see clearly, we were definitely missing him.
Right. And I feel like the biggest thing talking about Stutzman being the keystone, being a leader, is like Kip Lewis kind of played pretty good at the linebacker position. I thought he was pretty solid. I thought he fit in well.
Yeah.
But
Jaron Kanek played like Doogie, though.
Kanek was awful. That's what I was really saying, though, is like losing that leadership quality above even like having just a stud, linebacker out there was devastating to the defense. They didn't have the same zip. They did their best. They tried to be resilient. The 2 interceptions, down the line, I thought were incredible. And if they had an offense that could actually, convert those into points that could dagger the Jayhawks, then we're talking about an entirely different game. We're talking about an escape like we did last week, but we're not.
We did. The defense did dagger the freaking Jayhawks. We just couldn't get a first down.
No,
it's as simple as that.
That's what I was saying. No, the defense handed the offense a dagger, and Jeff Lebby just decided to toss it over his shoulder.
Foot. Yeah,
twice. That's what I was saying. The defense daggered him. Offense didn't actually do anything. They just kind of sat there and pissed their pants.
I can't believe T. Lawrence drops that interception and we still get another opportunity with the Ethan Downs interception and we still blow it. And it's just hurts.
And I mean, Downs, what a great pick too. Like the instinct to nab that was, well, you got to give credit to Downs. He looked really good there.
Yeah.
It sucks. It just really sucks. I thought Bowman's pick was, that's Dylan Gabriel. I thought Bowman's pick was also really good. We usually don't talk about MVPs on losses, but I think defensively Bowman was a pretty solid defensive game ball type of guy. I thought he tackled pretty all right. He had that pick. I don't know.
I thought a couple of guys that played good. I thought Desam Cola had a good game. I feel like he was all over the field making plays whenever really our other guys couldn't really do that. I think Kendall Dolby's been put into a really tough position right now, playing the cheetah as well as playing some cornerback as well. And he made some big plays. Obviously, he was, the brunt of some bad plays, but that tip that he had that went to Billy Bowman, I feel like was a really, really good play. Key Lawrence made some good plays too. If he would have caught that interception, he would be the MVP.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there are a lot of plays that were just almost made. Like that one right before the end of the first half, that play that Trace Ford went up, tipped it. And then I think it was Bowman. It might've been Woody who just narrowly missed it. And then it just, the KU wide receiver comes from out of bounds and just barely tip catches it, which still no idea how that was a catch because I don't know if he established possession.
He did not establish connection. They called it on the field a catch, right, Bobby?
I believe so.
So I don't remember. But it's if you put it in slow-mo, they talk about this all the time watching football, and it gets kind of old, but here I am saying it again, so sorry. But whenever you slow things down, it really does make things seem a lot more clear in terms of like bang bang plays. This dude did not establish himself. Are you kidding me? He got back and no way he freaking
He left
established himself.
from out of bounds.
Yes,
He started his jump from out of bounds.
it makes no sense. And then the Big 12 having the audacity to come out and defend themselves for it. Obviously, here's the thing. What do you want them to say? What do you want them to say? Because they're not going to go out and say, hey, we made a huge mistake. If they're going to put that in this last 2-minute report like the NBA does and hide it in the back and news drop it, not whenever it's hot on the press. They're not, and especially in college, they don't need to do that. They don't need to come out and explain themselves. It makes no sense.
Right. And I mean, they don't owe it to anyone. They don't have to. And not only that, it's OU, so they're not going to.
They can be flawed. Referees can be flawed. It's as simple as that. But coming out and explaining yourself and saying that you were right in that situation. Now, I understand the rule is a little bit like, it's a kind of a weird situation here that it's hard to talk about rules. But still, like, it just is. I think it's just sad. You're not going to get a lot of positive reviews from posting that. PR person in charge of the referees in the Big 12, you should have just put your head down and stayed quiet.
Yeah, you don't need a press scrum for that. Just don't do it. But, yeah, what a mess. What a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and can we talk about special teams quickly before we can, and then we can kind of just do like an overweening like theme of this game before we talk about Bedlam and I think just big picture OU stuff, because special teams. Shout out Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I think mentally in the back of my head, I was so mad at special teams I didn't want to put their picture up here.
Yeah, but here's my thinking. It's obviously in a game like whether like this special teams, it's just already going to be against it. But I know this has been talked about a lot elsewhere, other places. What the hell is Marcus Stripling doing in that position in a situation where with this wind that was going on and they had kicked it multiple times already in that game? You either really, really got to believe in Marcus Stripling as an athlete, or you're not doing something right putting him that far back as a defensive lineman.
Right. It's shocking that he was in that position. And I mean, for a way smaller degree, because look, I played high school. It's not the same. But when you're in a position that doesn't touch the football often, you cannot prepare yourself for the fear of a live football coming at you. Like it gets you if you're like a D lineman and the ball's coming at you like that. It's just, why was he there? It's really confusing. I don't understand it. I get being on the front layer maybe, but being that far back, like what are we doing? And
I was thinking about it, Bobby. Does it really say a lot about our tight end depth? Because that's usually where you have tight ends. We have nobody at the tight end position, like nobody. And who else are we going to put back there? So just show us that we just don't have a lot of big guys who can actually catch the football on this team.
Well, I mean, we have Stogner. Like we know he was out. He is out there because he made a massive play against UCF. But they just don't have enough. But
behind that, and like Jason Llewellyn, who knows if he's even healthy nowadays, and Caden Helms, the same story with him. Like in terms of like our kickoff, there's just the tight end position is really good for that line of defense right there, and I just don't know if we've got that many options.
We don't. I mean, it's been a talking point forever, even when we're talking about the good times. And it's poor. It's really, really, really poor. And I know
at least Elzinga's punting nowadays. Good for him.
Yeah, Elzinga's punting fine, but even then, like we apparently don't know how to, how to cover a pooch punt, letting the ball, like giving Bean an extra 20 yards there when we could have pinned him deep. It's just the lack of composure across the board, the coaching was poor, just all of it was bad. Just very bad. We were given ample opportunities to correctly execute and defeat Kansas and move on with our day, move on with our season. And at each turn, it felt like we made the wrong move and just let them. We just let them take it. Frankly, we let them take it, and that's gonna sting. But I think overall, this is still a team that's developing, still a coaching staff that's developing, and I'm not trying to poo-poo this loss. It's a bad loss. It's one of the it's not one of the worst losses I've ever seen in OU history. We've seen some far more unacceptable ones. Iowa State in 2017 comes to mind. We've seen just some absolute stinkers. I don't know if this one's that, on the road at Kansas, bad environment, but it is one of those that is just feels unacceptable because it's not like Kansas executed perfectly, because they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They came out with a good game plan, but they have ample opportunities. 3 turnovers that we couldn't really take advantage of. It just, OU should have won that game. And that's going to be something that we're going to have to sit with the rest of the season and into the off season.
Did we overhype this team? Yeah. Did we overhype this team?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit.
I'm not saying a little bit, because obviously we did a little bit, because we just went and lost to Kansas after, we were living the high life after the Texas. But
I think the team
severely
changed.
Overhyped this. You think so?
I think the team changed a bit. Like, I think if you look at how they played, like, just throw Texas out. Like, ignore the Texas game. If you look at how OU played against UCF and Kansas, they look like an entirely different team than they did against Cincinnati, SMU, whoever. And that's not even about the opponent. That's about execution. That's about the mentality. The lack of focus since that break has been substantial. And I don't know if it's a young team who, maybe lost that chip, trying to prove themselves after a frankly embarrassing season last year, not having that chip anymore. I don't know if that's that or what, but they just do not look like the same ball club. In terms of the focus, in terms of the intensity, they just aren't quite there. And that goes all the way up to the coaching staff. That goes to Jeff Lebby. That goes to, I don't know if you could properly blame Brent Venables for it. I think he's probably the least of our worries, but I think overall, the team needed to grow up and understand that after Texas, you still have half of a season play. When everyone's telling you, oh, you're going to get to see him in Arlington next year, and look at this cupcake of a schedule. You're going to get snake bit by a team like Kansas. These teams, and I'm not trying to make excuses, because you have to beat them. You have to get up for them. And that is something you can control. This was Kansas's Super Bowl. This was their biggest home win since 1984. Their first top 10 win at home since 1984. It means something when Oklahoma comes to town, and you cannot stroll up and act like it's all gravy, it's all made in the shade, just because you beat Texas a couple weeks ago. And I think that's kind of how they approach this one. And it sucks, but it's a lesson you need to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors here. But in terms of acute new things, yes, I think a lot of it has to do with the players. Now, I think Jeff Lebby is a chronic problem. It works whenever it works. But in terms of what we've seen this season, this is the same old Jeff Lebby. He's playing stupid stuff like this. He was fading, quarterback whenever we should be throwing it more downfield. He's been giving the running backs too many carries, even whenever it wasn't working. We've just gotten our way out of it with either poor opponents or a couple of lucky breaks. Jeff Lebby's the chronic issue here. Yes, I am all about treating chronic problems, but the acute thing is obviously something that is way more pressing, and is something, if you want to turn yourself around and stabilize, you treat the acute first and then worry about the chronic later. So yes, I get it. Jeff Lebby is the easy target right now because we have been frustrated with him for so long. But in terms of what we have with our players and getting them together and trying not to have stupid mistakes, which we've had plenty of in this game, that's what we need to fix first.
I mean, I agree. I agree. The Levy thing, I don't think there's any way you can fire him. I think the best thing you can hope for is that he gets hired away. Frankly, like through the keyhole brought up a really perfect spot for him being Houston. I think that would be just get Levy to Houston. That would be great. I want that to happen. Because he's just not the guy, man. When you know, and I feel like for too long, like we knew with Lincoln, I feel like starting that last season that he probably wasn't the guy. I think we knew with Grinch that he wasn't the guy on defense, and you got to call it out when you see it, and he's just not it.
Yeah, and I think AO Radio in the chat makes a huge point that I've been saying since the beginning of Jeff Lebby, like right in the first couple of games, is that he coaches off of ego instead of adjustments. It is no doubt in my mind, Jeff Lebby thinks the way he can call an offense can win you the football game. And yes, you can. But also, I feel like he's taking so much out of what the players can do. It really handcuffs us to be very one-dimensional. So he goes out there and he says, okay, I'm going to only run slants and, quick routes. So therefore, if that doesn't work and Kansas is playing against that, we're screwed. But he thinks I can do this and not have to worry about the risk of an interception, and we'll be okay because I'm good enough as a play caller that I'll make something work. No, that's not the case. Let your player, Dylan Gabriel, go out there and give him 3 different reads. Go out there. He is a veteran quarterback who's been doing this for a very long time. He has the ability to go set back in the pocket, make multiple reads, and find the right guy. Instead of, hey, Dylan Gabriel, you're going to throw to this number 1 wide receiver, and that's your option. Because I guarantee you there's no doubt in my mind that's how it works. And it's just not working. He needs to give the players more autonomy. He's got to stop puppeteering. We've got to have more open-ended plays.
It's the offensive equivalent of banging your head against a wall over and over and over again and thinking it's going to eventually work. And it just doesn't. And it's hard to watch, man. It's hard. It's really freaking brutal. But
let's talk big picture of OU. Like,
right.
What is your confidence for the rest of the season in terms of like making it to a Big 12 championship?
So, look, I think it's tricky because we've gone from like kind of thinking that was a shoe-in, even like if we took a loss, to, I mean, frankly, it's looking a lot tougher now. Especially with who we have coming up.
It's with the injuries coming into this game at Stillwater. There's no doubt in my mind that is completely why everything has changed.
Well, not only that, but with how Oklahoma State is completely transformed with the rise of Ollie Gordon, who, in my opinion, has just fought his way into the Heisman race. Frankly, the guy is the best running back in college football, one of the best running backs I've seen in a while. This stretch he's having is absolutely unreal. And Oklahoma State fans are too sketched up to say it, but I will. This is Barry Sanders tier type of stuff that he's doing.
Oh my
God.
This run is okay, good. I like that phrasing a little bit better.
Type of stuff. This is a Barry Sanders like type of heater that he is on. If he continues, then we can say Barry Sanders proper heater. But it's type of stuff that the type of numbers he's doing, just unreal.
He's not like you're not.
No, he's not
comparing
Sanders.
To Barry Sanders. You're comparing his stats to it. Okay. Oh my God, my stomach dropped.
Totally different. No. Totally different players. Totally different players. But look, overall, I think that becomes a massive hurdle next week in Stillwater. I'm scared horribly about this one.
How far is the line dropped again? Because I know that has just been plummeting. Wasn't it like 10? It opened
at 6.5. And surely that plummeted. OSU
before we lost.
OSU as a home dog is that's insane.
It's at 6 right now.
Okay, so it's still sitting around.
I want to say that like it was even
dropped
more. I want to say that it was even higher before that, though. I'm looking it up. But it's, I think 6 is just ridiculous. I like it. It opened at 9.5, and it's gone down to 6 now.
Yeah.
Woo. Like that's quite the jump.
I mean, it's, yeah. And I mean, Vegas has been right on every single slide that they've made. Every adjustment they've made with their lines has usually trended that way, I feel like. Um, and to, yeah, Corey in the comments is asking, like, if we went out, do we make the CFP? I'm not even thinking about the CFP. I don't want to do the old, playoff speech, but like, just frankly, like, it doesn't matter because I don't think this team can win a playoff game. Not with the injuries. It
I don't
doesn't
want to have
matter.
this conversation either. But I always say I don't care if you feel like this team isn't good enough. You always say that if you can make it to the playoffs, you'd rather go there.
No,
If
I
you ain't
agree.
first, you're last. I this whole avoid the playoffs thing is just you're just scared. It doesn't make
No,
any sense.
I want to make the playoff if we can.
Mhm.
If it
Yeah,
means we get thrown into a wood chipper against Georgia, that's fine. We have tape
so be
against
it.
it. Then it's like
Mhm.
we move into the SEC. We have a game against Georgia under our belt. There you go. That's fine. It's all a part of at this point, let's be frank, it's about trying to find your way to scrap and win a Big 12 title and then do whatever you can do down the run. But national championship is, you don't even dare think about that. You're setting yourself up for failure. You probably were before this. But
I'll say this though, Bobby. I feel like as college football fans, you have to think like this because unlike any other sport, a lot of people watch NFL, a lot of people watch NBA, a lot of people watch college basketball. You can lose games throughout the regular season. And you say, you know what? That was a big time loss. I'm going to take it and move on from that. College football, your leash is so short because you can't have a lot of learning experiences with losses. So whenever we do lose, it's obviously inevitable that people are going to think, how can I still get to the desired end game? Because that's the whole point of college football, right?
oh, I know, I get it. Do you remember 2020 when you had 2 losses and I was trying to scheme up ways that you could make the playoffs
Yes, of
still?
course.
Yeah, we do that. That's fine. I think it's one of those where, and yeah, if you're in the playoff, you have a shot, but I just don't think this team is there yet. And we didn't think they were there yet at the early part of the season. But with college
No.
football where it is right now, yeah, they can squeak in. But I think at this point, as OU fans, winning out isn't a given. In fact, it's looking like an improbability. Just with Oklahoma State, just beating Oklahoma State next week feels like an improbability.
It does not make any sense how we're a 6-point favorite on the road. It does
I agree.
not make
People just
any
aren't watching
sense.
OSU, I guess.
Mhm.
Because they look good. They've looked really, really good recently. And at
Mhm.
home, last Bedlam, a little bit of ref funkiness. Like I don't get it. I will say after Oklahoma State, I think our schedule lightens up a lot. I like West Virginia at home. I think BYU still not that great. I know elevation changes things. And then TCU at home is awful. TCU is horrible, and I'm not trying to pre-jinx ourselves here or anything, but let's just be real about what TCU is. So if you get past Oklahoma State and Stillwater, then yeah. Overall, looking at the Big 12 picture, it's a mess, man. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Big 12 standings.
Yeah, this Kansas State Texas game
Everyone
this
has a
week is going to
loss.
be a big one.
Yeah. K-State, Texas, both one loss. OU, Oklahoma State, both one loss. Iowa State still out there with one loss, which, I still probably maybe better than third best. Who knows? But Iowa State's still floating around.
Rapidly.
Well, yeah, exactly. You never know. Iowa State, though, this conference towards the run in at the end is going to be very intriguing. But I will say of it, it's like OU and OSU. Whoever wins this game has a really good inside track because I don't think Oklahoma State has a good rest of their schedule. And OU definitely doesn't. I think OSU doesn't have to play Texas. They've already played Kansas State, already played Kansas, obviously. At that point, they would have played OU. I think they host BYU, and then
Kansas State head-to-head's nice.
I think they go to Houston. yeah, like OSU is going to be in a really good position if they win this game. Likewise with OU. It's a big one. So just in terms of getting to a Big 12 championship, there's that. And there's not, I mean, it's not a guarantee that Texas makes it either. Given
No.
that Quinn Ewers is hurt, I think Malik Murphy is like pretty solid. He's played well, but we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I think if you're trying to be a neutral observer, you'd say this is a pretty fun race.
Yeah. And just like looping back to this Oklahoma State game, and a lot of people are saying oh, this like us, they're saying this line still doesn't even make sense at 6. I will say this though, Oklahoma, when healthy, I feel like they've had a pretty decent run game in terms of the power run game, to where I feel like I would feel somewhat okay going against Gordon. He's still going to get his big plays. They're still going to get a lot of yards versus us. But in terms of Alan Bowman, I don't know if that's the kind of quarterback I'm really nervous that could carve us up. So I see why there's still some optimism on betting the OU side here, just because I feel like the way Oklahoma State's offense is set up, I still if we had a healthy Danny Stutzman, which I feel like people aren't really taking into account, he should probably, I bet you he's going to play. He had an ankle sprain. He's going to play through it, and he's just not going to be healthy. But with a healthy Danny Stutzman, I get it. I get why this Oklahoma State team would set up to, where Oklahoma's defense would play well versus it.
For sure. And I understand why people are, if Stutzman is healthy and can go, that changes things a bit. Thinking about Ollie Gordon's run, he did it against Kansas, who has a really bad defense. Cincinnati, not a great team at all, abysmal in fact. K-State, who has come on a little bit, but they've sort of revamped things, put in a new quarterback and everything. I don't know. I don't want to call OSU untested or anything. They've won big games. Their turnaround has been very impressive. They've been tested. They've gone through the ringer a bit, but it's they haven't, Gordon hasn't seen good rush defense, I don't think.
Yeah, I get that side of the argument. Just as an aside, I saw this while we're potting. Looks like Gentry Williams is practicing today, so that's good. Then it seems like Brent Venables said fingers crossed for Danny Stutzman and Tawi Walker. If Danny Stutzman is a fingers crossed, he's playing. It's as simple as that. That means if he's a questionable, he's going to play through the injury. So yes, Kip Lewis, I feel like it would be such a big deal going against a guy like Ollie Gordon. But you also got to realize Kip Lewis is a little undersized, and he's still working through things. He's done really, really good so far. But is he the answer to fixing all of our problems? No. A healthier Danny Stutzman is. Now, with Danny Stutzman hurting, will we just get more rotation in of Kip Lewis? I think that's where you see more of Kip Lewis as a positive playmaker whenever he comes in that second unit and he just flies all over the field. I'm really going to be this linebacking position, I'm just zoning in on for this Oklahoma State game. I think they will be the reason we win or lose this game. And because Jaron Canic's got to pick his shit up. Simple as that.
Absolutely. Canic cannot have a repeat of that Kansas game.
He was all over the place. That dude was playing I don't even know how to describe it. It just made me think of Kenneth Murray whenever he was running all over the place whenever he was younger and didn't know where to go.
Yeah. And he's still young. I mean, he's a true sophomore. So first game properly back, in his home state, maybe. I don't know. I'm not trying to make mistakes or excuses for him, but he was not good. Whatever that is, he's got to knock it off and get back to what he's been doing.
And he's shown it this season too. Even I've kind of had this conversation with you, Bobby. He makes flash plays, but also at the same time, he's had these things where he's kind of been out of position a lot. And that's what happens with young linebackers, especially guys that are aggressive like him. He's going to have really, really bad games because that's his play style. And he's still trying to map out this kind of, sixth sense where you can figure out which hole to go down in terms of being a linebacker, because it doesn't come naturally. You just have to see it over and over and over. Then all of a sudden you just have that, the wherewithal to know where to go. Danny Stutzman had the same problem whenever he was younger, and he's gotten so much better about it. And yeah, We talk about Kobe and McKenzie too. Kobe and McKenzie look pretty decent too as well. Like we've got decent depth at the linebacker position. I'm really, really, really hoping that they can, put together a good game in Stillwater, because if not, then we've got a big problem.
And I think in a way it is a bit of an advantage knowing that Stutzman will be limited going into the game. Knowing that it's like, okay,
Where are you going with
there?
No.
We'll go. Well, no, think about it. It's an advantage knowing that you're like, rather than, oh no, we don't have Danny Stutzman anymore. What do we do? Now we have a week to prepare, get those younger guys ready so they know what to do. So you have a little bit more consistency where you can plan for the absence of Stutzman, or you can plan for the limited ability of Stutzman. Whereas before you're like leaning on him heavily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Obviously knowledge is power. So like you'd rather know like beforehand, like throughout this whole week. But at the same time, it's just like I don't want my best player on this team. He is our best player on this team to be limited.
Well, yeah, no, obviously you would rather have Stutzman.
I think you're scraping at positivities, which I get. Obviously, we have to right now.
A little copium, man. A little copium. You need it.
Yes. But it's like, like our defense, we can pick it apart. And obviously, like to stop their run game, I'm nervous. But also the same thing is like our offense needs to come out and play better. Like the offense is the reason we lost versus Kansas. It's as simple as that. The defense, even though they let 30 points, like Kansas has scored more than 30 points in every single one of their games this year, other than that Texas game. That Texas game is weird. That was a super weird game where they didn't even know who their quarterback was until like a couple minutes before the game. Like, I just, you can't really just damn them for giving up 30 whenever they're turning the ball over like the way they did, making special teams mistakes. And Kansas is a really good offense. So offense, you need to play better and come out and perform. And Dylan Gabriel in the passing game, like it's as simple as that. You can't ever have another game like that again.
Right. And I think overall, like, and this sounds like either coach speak or like trying to oversimplify it, but you can't play scared in this game. Not in Bedlam. On the road, you have to be bold. You have to be willing to go out there and, play aggressive. And that goes from the coaching staff all the way down to the players. You have to be able to take chances, capitalize on mistakes, because frankly, the mistakes that the mistakes the home team makes, they'll be able to recover from it because they have the home crowd on their damn side. They have the comfortability on their side. They have that energy just around them. You have to build your own energy when you're on the road. You have to bring your own confidence, bring your own moxie. You're the University of Oklahoma. You're the OU Sooners. You go into Stillwater and win all the time. You have more wins in Stillwater than OSU has wins in Stillwater against OU. You need to go in and be the aggressor. And I know that's tough after a loss and everything, but you can't be playing timid. You can't be playing you can't be playing not to lose. You have to be going at their throat. And that is the best OU teams we have seen go into Stillwater and play like that. Those are the ones that are successful. And it's like every time OU loses here, it's because they're way too conservative. They're way too like just half, like tepid, I think I would describe. And, based on like what we saw last week, if they play like that, they're going to get beat in Stillwater. Absolutely.
Yeah. I really hope we win the coin toss and elect to receive, because that shows you that you're confident in this offense. I'm really curious. Cool. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
The same thing. Yeah.
I legitimately said that before I even
Corey
read
in the comments.
Yeah.
Like literally as you said it, I saw it pop up on our little comments.
Yeah,
so I love that.
It's as simple as that. We got to have some sort of, way to tell our players we believe in them after that. And I'm really curious who's going to step up, who's going to change the vibes, who's going to, change the narrative for this OU team, because, you can't just let one loss take it down. There's upsets in college football every single season. And there's podcasts from every single fan base of people overreacting, and all the, optimism that we had 1 week ago is completely shifted. The reality of it is we are extremely biased with our recency bias. It's as simple as that. And recency bias is bringing things up that we had kind of, pushed to the side. We knew Jeff Lebby's play calling throughout this whole season has been poor. It's been poor. We know that. And we've decided not to look at that because we've done well enough on defense and we've had enough big plays to where it's like, you know what? We made it. We made it by. Now we're seeing these things. Let's try to think big picture here, Bobby, and look from a bird's eye view. There are some positives to this season. There's some negatives to this season. We had one bad game. We're hopefully not going to have to continue to play like we did versus Kansas. Hopefully situations will be different. Let's look at the positives here and let's see if we can bring back some of those things that we're doing well before this game and see if we can translate them back in a better environment than sleeting Kansas, Kansas.
Yeah. And I mean, progress isn't linear. We know that. You know, we're both Thunder fans. We've heard enough Sam Presti press conferences to know that, you know, sometimes you have setbacks. And, you know, frankly, you know, growing up, when was the last time you've seen an OU season where there isn't a bad loss? You know, every one of them, they at least lose one that usually doesn't make any sense. Or they hell, I would say, or they get straight up beat by Texas. But even then, like, they don't lose. The best Texas teams, you know, that wasn't the case, really. You know, you lose to them and then I don't know. Essentially, what I'm trying
Kansas
to say
is a bowl team. You know, they're going to a bowl game this year. So, like, you know, we've got to realize they've just clinched themselves a bowl. You know, there's 6 wins now. So it's like there's been much worse losses that we've had.
Ty's not here, but I feel like if he were, he'd be putting the quality loss banner up right now. And it's not
what I'm trying to say is we've had a lot worse scenarios as OU fans. It's not like I'm saying, oh, you know, Kansas is really, really good opponent. You know, we're going to be fine. It was a quality loss. No, I'm just saying we've been in much worse scenarios.
Oh, for sure. I mean, last year we were concerned whether or not the team would make a bowl game. And I'm not saying like, oh, we should be thankful or whatever. It sucks. I'm not trying to take away the sting. It stings. It sucks. We should have won that ball game, and it should piss the hell out of you. You should be pissed off. I'm still a little pissed off myself. That should have been a win. But at the same time, you know, this is a team that, you know, it's growing, it's changing, and this isn't the final product. And if it was, I think that'd be a little disappointing. You know, things are going to change. Things are going to get better. We have new guys coming in, you know. This thing isn't where we want it yet. We knew that ahead of time. I think we knew that after Texas still. We obviously had the optimism. I still have the optimism for where the program's going. I think the program's going in the right direction, absolutely. But this isn't the final version of this team. And, you know, frankly, you know, we just gotta keep pushing and, you know, reverse course and, you know, beat Oklahoma State, because Jameson, that's a big one. If we lose this one, we're going to be clowned on by these fools for forever until we play again.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what it was like with a non-rival with Texas A&M when they beat us in the Cotton Bowl, how bad that's been. Now, if OSU does it, we'll never live it down.
Oh, that was a bad game. And the thing is, I hate to say this, and you already kind of said something like this earlier with coach speak, and you hate to say it, but in reality, how you respond in the face of conflict whenever things aren't easy says so much more about your team than what we did last week. This game this week will show me so much more. Even if we win it, if I can see some things behind the scenes that were still issues that were glaring and easily fixed in this Kansas game, and that's Jeff Lebby's play calling, probably number one, as an easier fix that we probably won't get fixed, but at least him making an effort to try to make it a little bit better, which we've shown he's done tiny little things here and there to try to, you know, like he tried throwing the ball deeper whenever we were, you know, as a fan base at the beginning of the season, we're really trying to harp on him to throw it more deeper. Hopefully there's some tiny little adjustments here and there in terms of, like, you know, the offensive line play. Jeff Lebby's ability to, you know, be a little bit more aggressive. And then on the defensive side as well, trying to scheme up a better pass rush to make me feel a little bit more optimistic for the rest of the season. But right now, it's like I want to see how this team responds.
Absolutely. And I feel like they've responded from, obviously they weren't as big as this, but letdowns or disappointing performances, they've been pretty good at that, next game, ironing some stuff out and looking a little bit better. So hopefully they get back on the right track in a massive spot here. So anything else you want to talk about with the Bedlam game coming up?
No, I'm nervous. I really am. But if anyone can go to that game, I know right now as an OU fan, you'll be apprehensive. But I think you should absolutely go because it's going to be really sad losing this rivalry for as long as we can. And the environment of going to Stillwater for a college football game is so much fun. Even in a scenario like this where you feel like you're really down on this OU football team, go there because it'll be worth it.
Well, not only that, but it's a one-loss OU team, man. Like, if you're like giving up,
but OU fans are reactionary. That's how we are.
That's wrong, and that's wrong though. Like, what other fan base would give up on a team, a 7-1 football team? It's ridiculous.
Spoiled our fans. I know we're talking as a freaking fan podcast who is bitching about this team. Like, we are way too reactionary. I said it earlier, we got to take more of a bird's eye view on it, but just as simple as that. I mean, I know a lot of college football fans are not rational people. Like, message boards get ugly, but I feel like OU especially, I don't know what it is. Is it just our long-term, like we've been winning for such a long time that we are just extremely spoiled fans that do not take negatives very well.
I think a lot of OU fans, frankly, care more about winning than they care about the team. They care more about the university, and I'm just being honest. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It's been a massive pain in my ass forever. Is how OU fans will just fade away from a team. They've done this with the non-football sides. Women's basketball used to be a big deal. Then they started losing more games, and now nobody goes to those games. They're getting a little bit better now that Jenny Baranchuk has things going, but it's not different. The same thing.
That was just a good team. That was fun, football's a culture, Bobby.
But like in the 90s, Jameson, nobody was there. People, you couldn't give tickets away. Quite literally, they tried. And the thing is, if OU isn't winning, people give up on them. And I don't think they're at that point yet. But overall, you can't give up on this damn team. I think as a fan base, and this kind of goes for the Thunder as well in some ways, you can't give up on the team when you support the team whether or not it wins or loses. Support doesn't always mean you blindly agree with whatever they're doing. Yeah, you can be critical. You can, criticize them. You can be upset, but at the same time, you got to be in the seats that Saturday and cheer them on. They need your support. They need to be backed. And I hope OU fans don't lose that focus. I don't think they are at that point yet. The week's still early. And we genuinely still have everything ahead of us.
This has still been a successful season so far.
Oh, absolutely. Already we've already look, we didn't it's not a success that we have 7 wins. Like, that's not the success, is improving on 6 and 7. But they've already improved. We want more. We want more improvement. But at the same time, it's not throw away the program, fire everybody, that type of BS. Like, this is still a solid team that deserves its love and support. So, yeah. Well, Jameson, I think that's pretty much our show. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Nope. I just want to say that OU fans, I hopefully see a lot of you in the stands on Saturday. It's going to be a really fun one. I'm jealous of all of y'all that get to go.
Yep. I'm very excited going to this one. Looking forward to it. All things considered, Bedlam isn't Bedlam if it's not in Stillwater. It's a special experience. The Pokes, that home environment is one of the best in college football when you're on the road.
Better environment than Oklahoma. Simple as that.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think a lot of that, I think a lot of that has to do with the stadium as well, just how tight you are in, but also just the fan support. That is unconditional love. That is unconditional support that OSU has. Even when they're horrible this year, they bounced back and supported them. And I think that's something to credit the Pokes with. It's a different environment. It's raucous. It's loud. They hate you. They want to beat your ass. And it's going to be different for this last one out. So get out there, make a difference, get excited. I can't wait. So yeah. Anyways, for me and Jameson, this has been the Schooner Pod. Thank you all so much for listening. And we will see you on Wednesday for the weekend spread, where we pick this game and a full slate of others here in week 10 of college football. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a good time. So until then, have a good week, everybody. And Boomer Sooner, beat Oklahoma.